I haven't done my August wrap-up and I haven't done my September wrap-up. So I thought, why wouldn't I do something like this? I'm going to tell you the books that I think were the best from all of the books that I read in August and then in September, and I'm going to tell you what I thought about these books and how many stars I gave them, my overall opinion, and this is going to be some sort of a recommendation video. So my name is Catherine and today we are going to do my August/September wrap-up video. The first two books I read in August are worth mentioning, and those are Miss Peregrine's Homes for Peculiar Children and Hollow City, both by Ransom Riggs. And I'm sure that you've all heard about these books and I really love them. So what I wanted to tell you about these books and what I really love the most are creepy pictures that are inside the book. So if you didn't know, Ransom Riggs collected all those pictures from various people, and with their permission he put all those pictures in a story and he created this wonderful spooky story, and it was really a great experience. And I'm sorry that I didn't read those books now in October when all the spooky themes are coming up and things like that, but I really loved those books no matter what. So what I loved about those books is the story itself, although it was sometimes a bit predictable and even naive. But what I have to tell you is that I did enjoy the first book more than the second one, and that is because I really loved the beginning of the first book. It was funny and sad at the same time, and sometimes I laughed and sometimes I was really sad while reading it. And I really loved the pictures and the whole mystery in the first book, while in the second book I didn't feel the same connections with those pictures as I felt in the first book. So that's the main reason. And the other thing I didn't like about these books is that, in my opinion, there was something missing in the world building. So I'm not entirely sure what it is. The second book was quite good, but for me not as interesting as the first one was. So I gave the first book 4 stars and the second book I gave, I think, 3 stars, but it is more like 3.5. So that is the recommendation if you want some spooky reads for October. Here it is. Then third and fourth book I read in August were Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson and Second Chance Summer, also by Morgan Matson, and I really enjoyed these books. If you don't know what these books are, and I'm sure that you do know, they're contemporary books. They're just perfect for the summer, and I did read them during the summer. And the first book, Since You've Been Gone, is a story about a girl named Emily, and she had a best friend named Sloane. And at the beginning of the book, Sloane disappears and Emily doesn't know where she is. But the only thing that Sloane left before she left is a list of things for Emily to do while Sloane is absent. So this book is about Emily trying to figure it all out and trying to do all the tasks. And what I really loved about this book, that although it is a contemporary, it is not a romance book. There is some romance, but it is not the main thing of this book. The main theme of this book is friendship, strong female friendship, and that is what I really loved, because we can hardly see that in young adult books these days. And I think that it is really necessary to see some strong friendship and connections like that. And the second book, Second Chance Summer, was even better than the first one, in my opinion. This book is about a girl whose father found out that he is dying and that he has a cancer, and after that her family decided to spend one last summer together in their summer home at the lake. So as you can probably guess, this book is really bittersweet. Sometimes I wanted to cry, sometimes I laughed, and the character development in both of these books is extraordinary. While Since You've Been Gone is more about the friendship, as you've already guessed, this one is more on the family aspect, and I really love that. The characters were perfectly written, and the story itself was really enjoyable and easy to read, and the characters were easy to relate to. So that's a great story for you. 5 stars for both of these books. Then, moving on to the month of September, the first book that I read and loved was Isla and the Happily Ever After by Stephanie Parkins. Since you've probably heard a lot about this book, the only thing I wanted to say about it is that it was great, but the other thing that I wanted to tell you is that I've read Anna and the French Kiss, and I haven't read Lola and the Boy Next Door, because I started reading it and didn't really like it. So I skipped that one, and I read Isla, and I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to tell you that even if you haven't read Lola, you can easily skip that one and read the last one, because it is a story for itself and there is not a lot of connection with the previous characters. They're only present at the end. So maybe I'll try reading Lola sometime in the future, and I'm sure that I'm going to like it, but I had some problems getting into the story and I don't know why, I can't really remember. Then, after reading Isla, I wanted another contemporary. You could easily tell that I was in the mood for contemporaries, and then I decided to read a book by Jennifer L. Armentrout, because she is one of my, not favorite writers, but writers that I really love and appreciate. And then I read Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I really loved that book. It reminded me both on Unbecoming of Mara Dyer and Pretty Little Liars, combination of these two. And I'm not going to tell you much about this book, besides that you'll have better experience with it if you start reading it without really knowing the synopsis and what it is really about. So I'm just going to leave it like that and to tell you that I gave it 4 stars, and I gave it 4 stars only because I could kind of guess what happened at the end, but I love that book no matter what, so that book was great and you should definitely check it out, and don't read the synopsis before you start reading it, okay? Okay. At the end of September I read The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. I don't really have words to express my feelings about this book, because this book was not something that I usually read. I read fantasy, adult fantasy, young adult fantasy, some contemporaries, usually young adult contemporaries, and dystopians, but I don't really read books like this one. So the only thing that I wanted to tell you is that I really enjoyed this book, and I think that even if you don't like books like this, you could easily read it and you could easily fall in love with all the characters, because the character development in this book is more than great, and you'll fall in love with Amir's story and details about Afghanistan and things like that. So this book follows a boy named Amir, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and he is from Afghanistan, and his family, his father is really rich, so we follow his growing up, and then after the war and everything that happened, he moves to America, similar to the writer of the book, and then we follow his life, and sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry, and it is the book about friendship and the book about regrets and all those things in life. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. I love the kind of writing. It is something like storytelling, and like he's telling a story of his life. The only thing I didn't really like was that at the time that storytelling became maybe a bit too dramatic, if you know what I mean. So I can't really tell you why I think like that, you'll have to read this book, but he tends to end his every chapter with one sentence that could change everything, and the change wasn't always for the best. That's what I really didn't like, because I found it too dramatic and I really thought that this story could do without that. And I was really annoyed while reading this book because of this, but I love that book no matter what, and I think that I gave it 4 stars, but I would say that it is more like 4.5, even like 4.75. That is the last book that I read and loved in September. So with that book I'm going to wrap up. And I'm going to see you in some of my next videos, which will be soon. So if you did like my wrap up, please give me thumbs up as always, and you can subscribe, you know where the button is, subscribe button. Then that will be it.